Hello all. Today I'll be reviewing these Venum ELITE boxing training gloves, and I'll be recounting what my experiences have been with them over the past couple years or so. Stay tuned. So let's start out by taking a look at the external portion of the glove. The material choice here is a very smooth sort of synthetic. It's held up quite well, durability wise, over the past some years. I've been using these, 2 or so I'd say, since about 2019. It's now 2021. And as you can see here, there's no real cracks or wearing of the material so far. It has been supreme in terms of the external portion of the glove's durability. There's no fraying at the seams here. The only thing I've noticed that has changed a little bit is the stitching on this outside rubberized or plastic tag that is on the wrist strap here. There's a nice large bit of foam on the wrist and palm area here. So if you wanted to use this for kickboxing as well as boxing or even MMA, this could work quite nicely for those purposes as well. All the logos on this glove are screen printed, and in spite of frequent use, you can see that a lot of the stuff, even where there would be a great deal of wear, such as on the knuckle area, wear and tear is very much to a minimum, which is quite nice if you do like the graphical components of this glove. You can see these are handmade in Thailand, and this glove is intended to be a 14-ounce weight. And as you can see here, that weight is pretty much on point. And here we see with the right glove, also slightly above 14 ounces. So perfect, basically. So what is the actual fit and feel of the glove like when I slide my hand inside here? So the first thing I notice is that the hand compartment in here is overall quite roomy. The finger compartment is adequate for my reasonably long fingers, and there's otherwise a great deal of space inside the hand compartment everywhere else. So if you're an individual with larger hands, these gloves will likely suit you quite well. And now for the performance of the actual gloves. I will throw some haymakers at this bag and give you my general impression in this token scenario, combined with my experiences using these over the past couple years, and give you my honest opinion. So let's set about whacking this bag. So how did that feel, and how has using these felt over the past 2-ish years or so, maybe 1.5? Well, these gloves are very much on the softer side in terms of padding. When you hit the bag with these, you'll really get a lot of your knuckles coming through this glove. So it is more on the puncher's side than on the protective side, at least when compared to a more balanced glove like the Fairtex microfiber, for example, or even a much more protective glove like the Venum Impacts. That said, I could still see this glove being used for sparring, provided that sparring is kept to light or medium intensity. So, if you prefer a glove that is more on the protective side, you may want to look elsewhere. However, if pop is what you desire from a glove, then this will very much be in your interest. Now, something I mentioned about these gloves, with regards to the hand compartment size being large, an important point of note there is that if you have more medium to smaller sized hands, with your hands in this type of glove, you may find your hand sliding around a little bit, which is counterintuitive to the safety and health of your hands. So if you do not in fact have reasonably large hands, I would not recommend this glove. If you also have regularly large hand wraps, this may be something else to consider. They may fit you better if you have something larger to fill up the space within these gloves. The bottom line is that you don't want your hands sliding around inside the glove, because that is the dangerous part in the end. So what are my final thoughts on these gloves, and to whom would I recommend them? I would recommend these gloves to anybody who is seeking a puncher's style glove who has particularly large hands, or at least very large hand wraps, and reasonably long hands. So beyond all this, how would I rate these? Well, it's sort of a tricky question, because I have rather average sized hands, and tend to prefer gloves that are more on the protective to balanced side. So personally, my experience with this glove has been okay. But that's not to say it's just an okay glove. For somebody who's seeking more of the specific things I mentioned previously, you may have a much better experience with this. With that in mind, it's probably appropriate that we break this glove down into categories of strengths and weaknesses. As far as protection goes, I might give this glove a 3.5 out of 5 stars. When you're actually using this on the bag, I found personally that my knuckles really cut through it to the point in which I'm kind of shorting myself out on protection, and occasionally get a little bit of discomfort when using it. As far as durability goes, this glove has held up great. As you can see, I've only had a few minor issues here and there that we mentioned. Just this little bit of this wrist tag or wrist rubber stamp thing coming loose. And otherwise, I have no real tears or anything on any given part of this glove. So in that regard, it's held up great. So I would give the durability a 5 out of 5 or a 4.5 out of 5. As you probably could have guessed, I would rate these quite highly for their pop. My gloves, or my knuckles, consistently come through these gloves when I do hit the bag at full force. So I would give these a 5 out of 5 for pop. Now let's address one last thing: price. At the time of when I bought these gloves, I got these for about $70 a piece. So as far as price goes, that's pretty reasonable, provided these gloves fit your exact interests. Since then, I believe the price on these has gone up on certain styles and colors, ranging as high as sometimes $90, I believe, $89.99. So for that, I might say it might be a little bit steep. So if I were to give this a value rating, I might give it a 4 out of 5 ultimately, because as of recently, the prices on these gloves has been trending higher. Something else I should mention with regards to the protection category, particularly as it applies to the wrist support and otherwise unilateral support inside the hand compartment in this direction, is that my experience is somewhat biased towards myself having more average sized hands, as I mentioned. I do believe this glove will suit anybody who has much larger hands much better. And so if you do have more medium-sized hands like myself, you may be compromising the stability with this added looseness wearing this glove, provided you don't have enormous hand wraps to compensate. So, having given consideration to the 4 categories mentioned previously, this glove ultimately scores 4.25 out of 5. This has been my review of the Venum ELITE Training Gloves. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe, leave a comment below, all that good stuff, and I look forward to seeing you in the next review.